go ahead and get started. My name is Richard Weir, and I'm a Master Gardener with Fort Bend County Master Gardeners. I graduated in the pre-COVID era of 2019, which I was grateful for. I don't do virtual very well. But I want to welcome all of you to the fourth of our 7-class program on creating a productive edible garden in the home landscape. This month we're presenting propagation and seed starting. The program is part of the Texas Master Gardening Program in Fort Bend County, which makes sense. We work in close partnership with Texas A&M's AgriLife Extension Agency. And for those of you who are new to us, they provide a fact-based, research-based educational programs and outreach services to the Texas communities throughout their county offices. We are fortunate to be guided in our work by Jody Taylor, who's back there in the appropriately maroon shirt. And our wonderful program coordinator, Brandy Rader. I'd also like to thank the Master Gardeners who are here, who are in the aprons, who I couldn't pull this off, and we couldn't pull this off without. And especially Nancy Utek, who is unfortunately not here. She's probably out doing something. She usually leads the programs, she leads our programs, which are Grow Your Own and the Landscape Success and some other issues. A couple of housekeeping items. The bathrooms are out that door, and then you'll see them to the right. We ask that you silence your phones and please keep any side conversations to a minimum so everybody can hear. Shelley's welcome to take your questions as they come up. A link to this presentation will be sent out to everybody who is signed in, pre-registered or not. So you don't have to try and get your phone out, take a photograph real quick before she goes to the next slide. It'll be sent out to you for your viewing pleasure. Our next class will be on May 16th, and the topic then will be pollinators and companion planting. On a side note, aren't there the butterfly celebration up in the front? There are handouts regarding our butterfly celebration, which will be held in our demonstration garden, and that's on May 2nd. Our presenter today is Shelley Beck. That would be her. She graduated from our 2023 Master Gardener class. She grew up in Southern California, moved to Houston, Texas in 1981. Has resided here in Fort Bend County since 2008. She spent 47 and a half years in technology services at Hewlett-Packard. So if you have an HP, please thank her. Before retiring April 30th, 2024. She retired to spend more time with family, which consists of 2 children with spouses, 6 grandchildren, and 2 dogs. She also wanted to spend more time with the Master Gardener community, improve her golf handicap, and become a skilled pool player. Although maybe she can school some people. She's still working on the latter too, though. She became interested in plants working in a plant shop right out of high school, has had some form of garden, mostly ornamentals, every place she has lived, including apartments and condos. Her real gardening started when she moved into her first house, and it has never stopped since. While she loves all kinds of plants, she has developed a real passion, some may say an addiction, for plumerias, and she loves propagating plants, which is a good thing since this is what she's presenting today. So I believe you're in for a very enlightening and probably thrilling presentation. So please join me in welcoming Shelley.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you for getting up early and coming out. Is this too close? Is that what I'm getting feedback? Okay. Yeah, we're good now. All right. Let's go. So what is propagation? It's creating new plants. You can do it from seeds, you can do it from bulbs, you can do it from cuttings and division and layering. But the big question is, how long ago did humans start propagating? Anybody know? Long time ago. Back when we had nomadic tribes, they started to settle down in communities, and they were no longer hunter and gatherers. They needed to grow their own food, and they started watching nature. And first thing that happened, there was a genetic accident, miracle, whatever, and we had wild goat grass cross with wild wheat and create wild emer. And then another genetic situation happened when that wild emer created with wheatgrass, and we got bred wheat. Now, what's important about that is the earlier grasses had really thin stalks, and the wind would break them and the seeds would disperse. So it was great for getting more plants, but not controlled. And with the bred wheat, the stalks were thick. They required thrashing in order to harvest the seeds, so we had some control. So man and plants came together for mutual benefit, and we were able to start harvesting wheat bread. So that led to the agricultural revolution, where early civilization started learning from nature, started propagating from shoots and cuttings, and by 2000 BC, grafting was being done in Greece and Middle East, Egypt, and China. So these are two examples of how today, if we were thinking in the mindset of these early nomadic tribes, nature showed us how propagation takes place. This first one here is, I had a neighbor that had at Halloween one of those pumpkins that they have all the seeds coming out as though the pumpkin is vomiting. A few months later, there's a pumpkin plant growing in their front yard. This other one is a little chapel in Waikiki, and that's the rain gutter. And you can see this lush foliage growing in the rain gutter now. So nature doing its thing all by ourselves. Today, propagation in the 50s, quite today, we started doing some commercial propagation, mist propagation, where they would use heated mats and mist to help speed up the growth of cuttings and seeds. And then they came up with a plastic film to put over things that also increase the humidity. When you're starting plants, humidity is really key to getting things growing, keeping the moisture at an even level. And then they took the mist propagation and came up with fog propagation, which allowed the humidity without the droplets being on the plants. Then they started playing with seeds. And with seeds, they would start to germinate the seeds and then halt it and put them in formulas that would either provide nutrients, fungicide, whatever, but it would speed up the germination of seeds once we started planting them. And micropropagation. We're not going to talk a lot about micropropagation. It requires a lab. But if you think about orchids, when they create a new orchid and it's really beautiful, how do they keep getting that so that they can mass market it? They can take tissue samples, parts of leaves, and propagate in vitro, it's very fascinating, but we can't do it in our backyards. So there's two types of propagation methods. There's sexual propagation, so think of spores that come from ferns and conifers, and then seeds that come from flowers and fruit. And then there's asexual propagation, which gets you an identical copy of the plant that you're using as your source. And you can do that with cuttings, layerings, budding and grafting, division, tissue and micropropagation. So, benefits of seeds. They're easy to come by, they're easily stored, they're inexpensive, you can gather seeds. I have over here, this is a thing with the little white head, that's a green onion. After I cut off the green onion, I take a little piece, I put it in a pot outside, and I have an endless supply of green onions. But if you don't cut them, they'll go to seed. And that's what that is. That's the seed head. All right. Then also seeds can have variability, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Then there are different processes to get seeds to germinate. Some require cold, some require warmth, and some require scarification, so they need to be scratched or nicked. So we're not going to talk a lot about ferns. They're hard to germinate. And in fact, this, Alicia, in this baggie up here, if you could open that and send it around. Yes. If you look inside that bag, you will see a little bit of green. I've been working on that for a year. So it's slow and hard to do. But for ferns to propagate, they have to have spores, which, Becky, the dried up leaf, the big leaf, if you look on the back of that leaf, it will, those are the spores. You take those spores, and with the right moisture, they'll start developing rhizoids, which will become ribbons of cells that will be male and female, and pretty soon they'll come together with water and create an embryo, and you will get a fern. So this is an example. Our last hurricane, we lost a tree behind our house. It wasn't our tree, but we went out and cut it, and I noticed that there were ferns growing on a piece of the bark. So I took that, stuck it in the corner of my backyard. When it rains, that's what it looks like. And when it's not raining, all the ferns kind of die back, and then the next rain, it's green again. So I think ferns are interesting that way. So seed germination. Seeds germinate in two ways. You have the hypogeel, where the roots go down first. They seem to germinate slow because they don't put green up right away. And then the epigeel is when they do both at the same time. And those look like they're germinating really fast. We're going to see some of that. There are so many methods to doing seeds. You can do seeds with no preparation. You can soak them in water that helps speed them up. Some need to soak in water. Scarification, you can take a nail file or nail clipper and just nick the seeds. Stratification, and then smoke treatment, which is really interesting. When we have a forest fire, all the trees are dead. Some seeds require smoke to germinate, and then we start getting a forest back. So the key to seeds is light, oxygen, water, and nutrients. And when you do seeds, can I walk over here now? When you do seeds, read the back, the package. The package will tell you everything. And if you want to know specifically for our area, you can search on the plant type, end your search request with /TAMU, and you will get some scientific information based in Texas. So let's look at some seeds here. These are some seed planting ideas. There are all kinds of different seed starters. These are made so that you can take seeds and put them right in the soil once they germinate, but you can start them in the house early. You can do that using a heat mat, and a grow light. These are real easy to come by all over the place. There's so many seeds. These are lima beans, and we're going to pass these around so you can see them. There's the dates on when I put them in the water. Maybe I started a little too early because, they're like past wanting to be planted. But if you could pass these out, The same method I did with plumeria seeds. So just to show them germinating, I have a kindred spirit over here. This one's actually showing the green already, so Becky and Alicia will pass those out so you can see them. There's all kinds of different media. I have that up here afterwards. You can come and look at the different media, or we can pass that around too so you can see it. And then I wanted to show, because it's very important when seeds get big, that we bump them up, that we pot them in a bigger size. I get a lot of plumeria seeds because it is a problem in my house, and I can't let the seeds go. So I game plan. I start these in a paper towel, in a plastic bag, and we'll send these around. This one's not great. Maybe this one will be better. It's kind of wet. But you can start to see how the seed starts to germinate. But when you are ready to transplant, you need to be careful not to damage the stem. It's okay to damage a leaf, but if you damage the stem, it is likely the plant will die. So there's soil in here, and then I will dig up one of these plumeria seeds. I will hold it by the leaf so that I'm not impacting. I forgot to put the
You spray it with the water so it's real moist but not wet, and then you put it in a windowsill. And usually a week, 10 days, you start seeing germination. Can you guys hear me okay so we can keep going? All right, so we now have a hole in the soil. Again, lifting by the leaf, we can stick this down. You want the hole big enough that you're not squishing the roots. And put that in. And in the soil, whenever you plant, the soil should be moist. In fact, if you're transplanting, water the plant that you're going to be moving, either from a pot or from the ground. Water it like an hour before so it can take up all the water and be fully hydrated. It'll help it avoid some of the shock. So now we have a plumeria plant. I tell my husband this isn't a plant until it's bigger, but he counts these as plants. Yeah, you can pass that around. All right, where's my clicker? There it is. So I told you we'd talk about seed variability. So when you have flowers, you have pollinators, and they fly from flower to flower. In this case, these are my orange cosmos. You can see some are yellow. I took 6 seeds from the butterfly garden over at the demonstration garden. I germinated them in the house in January, which is really not necessary with cosmos. They grow a lot and fast. I have a whole lot of them now from those 6 seeds. But the plant I took them from was orange, and you can see that some of the flowers are yellow. And we don't know where the yellow pollen came from, but you have that variability. Now when you buy seeds in packets, those are in controlled environment, and you have a lot less risk of variability in your seed packets. All right, asexual propagation. We're going to come over here, and I won't have to mess with that speaker anymore. So it's and you get an exact copy of the plant, and it's fun. And then there's cuttings, and probably everybody's done a cutting of a pothos like this. They're very easy, and they look pretty while they're growing. And you can, if you do this is a half and half bottle. I took the label off and cleaned it out, so it gives me a little base. I do a lot of recycling. As you can see, those are all takeout food containers. And I do put holes in the bottom. You can use a little drill. I use a soldering iron, 47 years in tech. I like soldering irons. And I just poke holes in the bottom so that they drain. There's layering, which we're going to demonstrate some layering techniques. Again, it's easy, it's fun. Bulbs and rhizomes, corms, they're very easy. I have some turmeric. We can pass this around too. When you do bulbs, and we're not going to do a demonstration with these, you're going to want these little buds facing up. So we'll pass this around, and I might go faster than I can go. You want to start these. And then grafting, which is pretty labor intensive. It does take skill, takes tools. Jody has provided grafting classes for us, so we know a little, but I don't spend a lot of time grafting. Although you can graft plumerias, so you have multiple colors on the same tree. And then tissue culture, we talk, and we get a lot of results, but it's not something we're going to be able to do. So division, there are different ways to do division. See if I can keep from making a complete mess. This is a Sansevieria that it really needs to be repotted, but instead I'm just going to divide it. And you can see we can just tear off, kind of tease the roots away. And if you have to, I've got a big one right here. I have clean tools, cleaned with alcohol yesterday. I'll clip that root, bring that here, put in the pot. The soil is moist already. Fill it in with a little more. And from this plant, we could end up with 3, maybe 4 plants that will be happier than this one was. Although it was happy last year, it bloomed. I didn't even know Sansevieria bloomed, but I stuck it outside and it did well. This is the stalk from the bloom, which I will cut off now. You don't want anything with blooms when you're trying to root things, because then all the power will go to the flowers. So that's division. And you can do that same way with something like this. I'm not going to do it because it's really messy, but you can dig. This is a variety, and you can dig it up, daylilies and canna lilies, lily grass, all kinds of things. You can dig them up and cut them. Usually using a knife, something like this that will cut through the roots. And suddenly you will have 2 or 4 plants, however big your starting plant is. It's really good to cut the leaves. And that does 2 things. One, it takes less nutrients for the plant so that it can focus on roots. And also will let you know when you have new. Right? If you cut all the leaves in half, when you get new leaves in their hole, you know it's growing and it's taking roots. So I think I got everything there. Cuttings. We just cut this Sansevieria. Now, with a plant like this, let's take a bigger one. Notch it. Now, some people notch the arrow down, some people notch the arrow up. Whatever you do, just do it consistently. I will take this and, which way did I go? See, you have to do it the same all the time. I will put the pointed end down. Oh, I forgot the most important part. Rooting hormone will help speed up rooting. You can take a paintbrush, a little bit of water. You don't want to cross your rooting hormone, so dump it out and then don't put that back in there. And then you just paint on the rooting hormone. And when you put it in the soil, make sure you don't knock all that off. And just stick it in there. And then we talked about humidity and the way I get humidity on these. Is my illustrious takeout container. I put that on. Now, you want to watch it. If it looks like a rainforest, lift the lid and let it dry out a little bit. You don't want them to mold and mildew. So, but you do want some humidity, so you can watch those. So that's one way to do cuttings.
Hi, Shelley. Can I
Yes.
ask a question? This is good for you. Where did you have, when you said you did a notch or something like that?
Yeah.
I didn't see.
Repeat the question.
She wants to know where I cut the notch.
I said,
Yeah, I just cut like this. And then I would do one above it. And I did this one backwards. You would put the arrow down, except I did this one upside down off of that cutting.
So the
So
piece that you're putting down would be, it's the higher piece, I guess is what's still.
you want, the way the leaf is growing,
Yeah.
you want the top up.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I should have been more clear with that.
Do most plants grow from the leaves or just certain types of plants?
Pardon?
Do most plants grow from the leaves or just certain types of plants? Like,
So this is herbaceous, non-woody, but with cuttings, you can also take cuttings off of woody plants. They're, in fact, yes. So woody plants, there's softwood, semi-hard, and hardwood. And typically your softwood is in the spring, semi-hard in the summer, and hardwood in the fall. Softwood roots more easily. So spring is a great time to do it. And when you take a cutting, so there's totally different ways to do this. So I do plumerias. This is a cutting of a plumeria with plumerias, and this is why you look it up on, how do I do cuttings from a plumeria / TAMU. And if you don't get anything from Texas A&M University, you'll get something from the University of Florida or another school. That is science-backed information. And with plumerias, you want a callus. So you want this little ring here to be hard before you root them. And then using rooting hormone, and this is perlite, slightly moist, wrapped around with tape. And this way you can see when it starts to root. Now the interesting thing about this particular cutting, it's gonna bloom. When I cut it so that I could put the parent tree in the garage, if I would have not cut it, I would be getting a bloom. We don't want this to bloom. So I'm gonna take that cutting off. We're not gonna pass this because it's gonna leak sap for a while. But you want to take that off. You don't want the plant to spend any energy on flowers when you're trying to do roots. You've got to have the roots to sustain the plant. This would likely root after it bloomed, but it would probably take me 6 to 8 months to get roots. And I know that because I tried it before. And by cutting that off, I should start seeing roots in about 4 to 6 weeks, and I'll have a plant at the end of the year.
and you don't have any other soil in there, just perlite.
Well, on that one,
Yeah.
this one I have in peat moss. And we can pass that around. And the thing, I like clear so I can see the growth. When you have leaves, you have roots. Because it's gonna put the roots out and then the leaves. But I like to watch the roots come through. Cuttings. Oh, this is another thing we can send around. These are succulent cuttings, and even succulents, surprisingly, they like humidity. This is a little too much. Can you see how much moisture is in this? I've been leaving this like this at home so that it doesn't get so much. But moist soil, I'm not sure the leaves will root, but I have seen it before. But this, and this are actual cuttings, and I expect those to root as well. That's a,
Hi, Shelley, I have one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
On this area, why did you put it in the perlite? What was your pick for using that?
because people that are really crazy with plumerias do it. It's a way to root a lot of them in a small space. I've actually this year moved to the the planter bags. Have you seen those bags that you can grow plants in instead of pots? Well, they have little ones, and I'm doing it that way. Even once they get leaves, I don't have to transplant them. This I'll have to transplant into a potting soil, and a plumeria mix. That, you know, they like to be moist, but they like really good drainage. They will root rot, as most plants will, but they're real susceptible to root rot if we leave too many in there. You can also, like we did with this leaf here, you can do this like with begonias. You leave the petiole and the leaf, stick that in, keep it moist in a humid environment, you can get new begonias. I will caution you, when you buy a plant and it says it's trademarked, it is illegal to propagate that plant. I know, I didn't know either. But it's like the music industry, right? If an artist puts out an album and I buy the album and then I give it to somebody else and they record it, technically that's illegal. You're taking money out of the pocket of the artist, right? Nurseries and growers spend an enormous amount of time and money growing. So I try real hard to respect that, but I have so many plants I don't know. Like Sanservias, they're good. Rubber trees, they're good. They've been around a long time. So, and plumerias are a little unique. They're not patented, but they are named. So if you have a named plumeria, that is one that has been bred from seed. The plant has bloomed 3 times. It has a unique bloom. And then if you've documented that whole process for 3 years, you can submit an application to the Plumeria Society of America to name it. And then the only way to get a named of whatever, if I name that Shelley Sunshine, the only way to get a Shelley Sunshine is from that original plant. So there's a lot of propagation that goes on to get those out so they can sell Shelley Sunshine. I have not gotten one to bloom uniquely. I have seedlings that are going to bloom this year. They're like 3 years old. It takes a lot of time and patience. But that's one of the things we learn from gardening is time and patience. All right, any other questions on cuttings? I think I got everything. Oh, you can also, I told you about begonia leaves with the petiole. That's easier, but you can cut a begonia leaf and do the leaves in sections. Right. Takes a little more attention. You want to use a fungicide because they will rot really easily.
So you wanted to go back on that plumeria and how, what, you said something about a rock.
We missed.
Yeah, we missed that. Root rot or something about plumeria. Why would it be?
Moisture, excess moisture.
Yeah, too much moisture will cause them to rot. So when you're rooting cuttings, like even if you're rooting in the one that's going around in an open container, you don't water it. You don't water that plumeria until it has full leaves. You can mist it if it's looking shriveled.
So you don't water it real quick the first time you just.
I moisten the medium that I put it in. Yeah, it needs a little bit, but if you make it too moist,
Yeah.
then it gets really soft and squishy, and cut that part off and start again. Right. All right. You can also root cuttings from some plants. You can take pieces of the root and cut them, and you can propagate from the roots. When I took the advanced training, we did that from a native plant, and it grew. It's growing. It's at my house. All right. Cool. Okay. Layering. There's a couple different methods of layering. Air layering, or simple layering, is when you take a plant like this, and you would take this part and put it down, which I did, and then on the way here it broke. So I'm hoping that it rooted before it broke. But I took a paper clip, and we'll pass this around, to hold that branch down. You want to wound it just a little bit. Little rooting hormone helps it, and then you keep watering this. You want to keep that soil moist. But now I'm going to have 2 of those. This plant I set out in a little garden last year, and now I have it in my garden too, because it did it all by itself, which, again, it's watching nature. Well, if it can do that by itself, what can I do, right? So we can do that. That's another way, if you have a shrub that you want to propagate a cutting from, and it has a low branch, you can just, dig a little trench, wound the branch, put a little rooting hormone on it, put it in the soil, and pin it down somehow so that it keeps contact with the soil, and it will root. And when it starts growing and rooting, you cut it off on the mother side of the plant and plant it wherever you want it. Dig it up and plant it. All right, what else do we have? Oh, the fun layering. So this is a rubber tree. I've already done this once to this poor tree, but I want it to bush out anyway. So I'm gonna remove some leaves, because you want a big spot of this, and then you want to kind of scar it going up all the way around. You can also do this by taking a knife and cutting 2 pieces and then opening up. But what you want is you want to expose the cambium. Yeah, you want to expose the cambium all the way around. It's hard to see with that limited light here. So you want about an inch of it done. Then you want to put some rooting hormone on it. Where's my paintbrush? Normally I would use a different paintbrush. You can only bring so many supplies. Put some rooting hormone on it. Works better than dumb. Alright, and then you take some sphagnum moss. This is wet, maybe not wet enough. You want about a baseball size of sphagnum moss, and you want it wet. Squeeze out the excess. And then you wrap this around the wound. Nobody said gardening was clean. Can you pull that plastic off of there for me, please? Thank you. I need the plastic. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Come on. And you wrap this around to hold it tight. Press and seal doesn't work great. It's really hard to get off when you put this on. So you wrap that around, take a little tape. Electrical tape works really well, but again, that's hard to get off, so I'm going to use painter's tape. It's a little easier to get off. At some point, I think I'm going to have to start selling rubber plants if I keep doing propagation training, because I do this every time. Put that, and then, any idea what I want the foil for? No? It's for heat. It'll keep the heat in, keep this a little bit warmer. And then you can look at it in about 3 or 4 weeks and see if the roots are growing. When you have a bunch of roots, then you will cut it below, plant this, and then this will start branching out. And you can see this one already has 3 additional branches coming out from the last one.
So do you set it in the dark, or
No, you want to water this and take care of it just like a normal plant. Rubber trees don't want direct sunlight, so you can leave it on your patio, you can leave it in the house. Yes, sir.
How would it keep sufficient water, I guess, to keep the top part growing?
Well, it's still connected.
Yeah.
So I've just taken the bark off. The campion's still there, so it'll go through.
Oh, campion's still there?
Yeah, yeah. So, and if you don't water this, then nothing's gonna work. It's gonna, so we just did all these examples. Any questions before I talk about our next big event? Yes, ma'am.
So the seedlings, so how do you collect the seeds?
How do you
How do
collect seeds? Great question. Let me go show you.
What's the
What was it?
question?
How do you collect plumeria seeds? So antheniums, desert roses are very similar. This is a desert rose seedling planted last year. Is that one? It's important to label stuff so you know this was planted last year. Plumerias will put off a seed pod. Usually they're doubles. They look like this, and you just leave them there. You want to wrap them with something like, you know, the scrubbies. You take the scrubby apart, and you can put that on there with something to hold it on, because when these pop like this, the seeds, we'll send this around. The seeds look like this, and they have feathers on them, and they blow, which is what nature planned for them. But if you want to capture them, you need to protect the pod. There's also these cool little makeup brush holders you can get on Amazon that are stretchy. They're really easy, and you can put them on all the seed pods. Desert rose is the same way. We'll pass this around. They come out with seed pods, and these are just the most cool seeds. What happened to my seed board?
It was blocking the view, but
Oh.
we can pass it around.
Don't do
I
it.
know.
Yeah. Okay. Those adenium seeds, when you plant them, you want to pull the feathers off. But those are just, I think they're the prettiest seeds. And then there's one on that board that's a butterfly vine. And it starts off as a yellow flower that looks like a butterfly. And then it turns brown and falls off. And the seed is actually in what would be the butterfly body. Yes, ma'am.
So what you did with the rubber plants, can you do that with other types of plants?
Yes,
Or,
woody plants.
okay, like a bougainvillea? Or not?
I don't know. Do any of the other master gardeners in here know about propagating bougainvillea?
I mean, I've done it once where I took a cut and I just put it in the dirt and I actually made one.
Yes.
But I was just wondering if maybe that was another option. So maybe I'll try.
It's worth a
it.
try.
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't take a whole lot.
Okay. And then one more question.
Yes.
Where are you getting good potting soil? Because when you go to the big box stores, they are just full of bark. Like, did you buy?
Yeah.
I mean, like.
I have a whole
potting
bunch of plants that
soil?
are suffering from some bad potting soil.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've used Miracle Grow. You can find that a lot of places, and it does well. Enchanted, those nurseries, Caldwell's nurseries. Your real nurseries, they will have
We try there. Everywhere we go, it's just full of mulch. Like, we just went dirt.
Well, you don't want dirt in potting soil. It's really soilless medium.
Right.
Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay. Could you hear me?
Hibiscus, can you, hibiscus,
Hibiscus, yes.
do that
Yes.
from the stem,
I have a hardy hibiscus.
from the stem?
Yes. But with the hardy hibiscus, I've done it both ways. So when you do it in a cup like this, I use a Starbucks cup sometimes if I want to get a longer. You put your moist potting soil, you put your cutting rooting hormone in the cup, then you can put a cover over it. And if you're worried about keeping the plastic off, you can put, this is part of a coat hanger, just a cut. You can put that to make a tent over the cutting and put a plastic bag over it, tape it down. You can also use the lid that comes with these, and I have some hibiscus that I've propagated. Again, be careful that it's not a trademark one, and the cops are going to come and know what they're talking about when they say they violated that trademark.
I have some alpias that from when I trimmed and I just put them in a bucket and water, about half of them have roots. I'm having trouble going from the rooted piece.
Okay.
And potting it, and then they die.
Okay, so the question is, with, she cut an althea and just put all the cuttings in a bucket of water and they're starting to root. So I would take off the lower leaves so that you only want to leave maybe 4 leaves on it. And then when you put it in the soil, you need to keep it moist. When you go from water, that's probably the hardest part about water culture, is when you go from water to soil, you need to keep it moist while it gets used, it was really kind of babied. It had easy access to water. Now it's got to work a little bit.
And that won't make it rot, keeping it
Moist, not wet.
not wet. It's okay.
Exactly. Yes.
Is there a more natural way, like what would they do before planting?
Could you do that? You have to be able to hold the sphagnum moss on, and you have to be able to keep it moist. So if you can
Could it be like a more like a woven type of fabric that I'll be able to?
that might be able to work. I haven't tried it, but it's something that would be worth trying.
Well, kind of avoid it or whatever. Just,
I love that.
I want the more ancient way of gardening, like the beginning way, like saying we don't have plastics, right?
Yes, yes.
Shirley, can you repeat the question?
Probably. Exactly. Or, you can, if you have a plant that has a low branch, that you can finagle another pot up along and put that branch in the soil. That's more how nature would have done it. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Anybody done roses?
Oh, any kind of
For the plant that you're leaving, you want an angle. You don't want water sitting on top. I don't know if it looks better with the angle. In water culture? I don't think so. What you want to do with water culture is you want to make sure that you have a leaf node, a little node on the woody part, because that's where the root will come out from.
Shelley, will you repeat the question? And also, you can set the mic down because Steve turned the speaker on.
Okay, thank you. And I'll stand there
Anyway.
Yeah, I've had that problem my whole life. But to keep it there. So the question was, is it better to cut in a slant or straight across for doing water culture? And the answer was, I haven't really experimented with that myself, but you do want a slant cut on the parent plant, so I use the slant cuts in my water culture rather than cutting it twice. Other questions?
And you said something about roses, propagating roses, or you were asking?
Yeah, they're woody, and so you can use the
Softwood?
woody. Yes, in the spring is best when things are really growing. They have the hormones.
Like the layering or the water culture?
I don't know if roses will do water culture. Layering should work.
Layering
So
and
would.
and cutting.
And cuttings?
Cuttings.
And what do you do with your cuttings?
Just like what she demonstrated there.
In soil or what?
soil.
In soil. So the question was roses and taking cuttings from roses. And Kumar says you can just put the cuttings in soil like we do here. You want to keep the humidity, rooting hormone.
Yeah.
You want to make sure you have a leaf node.
Peggy Martins are easy to do actually.
I have one my grandfather started early, and I would like to get one for my daughter started from it. So that's why I'm trying, and I haven't had any success so far. So
Keep
I'm
working
doing
it.
something wrong.
Try. Do you use rooting hormone?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but I haven't done the air layering.
Okay. So she has a rose from her grandfather, and she wants to get a cutting for her daughter to have a rose from her great grandfather, which is one of the coolest things about propagation. I have a plant that my mother sent me when my son, who is 1942 was born, and I've got 3 more of those plants, and one of these days I'll give one to him. I don't know that he's ready. Although he's growing pineapple from our fruit tree sale. He bought a couple pineapples last year. He's got 6 now.
How did you do that? Because I tried yesterday as well. I cut the top off, put it in, like you said, the potting soil and moist. Is that how it will grow? Or
What was it?
pineapple?
A pineapple. Oh, pineapple. The top of one. Yeah, you can set those right on the soil and they will grow.
And same thing, keep it
But
moist.
you need to not let it freeze.
Okay.
It won't tolerate the cold. That was about pineapple. She cut the top off of pineapple and she put it the top in soil. Did you let it sit for a couple days?
No.
That helps. It calluses it a little bit, dries it out. Did you just do it yesterday? Go home, take it out, let it sit for a couple days, and then put it back.
So like this. Okay.
Yes, yes.
My husband and I first met you at the Wilshire Library last year.
Yes, I remember that. You're from
Okay.
New York?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember you.
Are you gonna do any more of those there? Any more classes?
If they ask us to, and depending on the topic, we have a whole group of master gardeners that are on the Speakers Bureau. They're willing to speak, and we each have different specialties. I went to advanced training for propagation. That's what I like the best, and container gardening.
Well, that's what it was, the
Yes.
container gardening.
Yes.
Now, if we go to the library and request it, might that help?
Yes. And if you're interested in container gardening, May 22nd is our virtual class, and it's on container gardening.
Really?
Yeah,
May
I haven't
22nd.
figured out how to do virtual, because you know I like my toys and but I'm gonna do the container garden class virtually.
May 22nd?
May 22nd, that'll be on a Friday. You go out to fbmg.org. Don't ever forget that, fbmg.org.
It's ingrained in my brain.
Yeah, and you can get to our help desk with that. If you have a question, it will let you send an email, and we staff the help desk Monday through Friday, 9 to 12, but if something comes in off hours, they get it first thing in the morning, and they will research and look up an answer, and if they can't find it, they'll ask Jody for help.
Can you go back to the pineapple? When she cut the top off and you let it dry for a day or two, then what do you do with it? Do you plant it in medium? And do you wrap it?
No.
No, just
I thought it was
plant
just
it?
Yeah.
Pardon?
bottom leaves off and then leave it in the water.
I think you would probably be better if you trim the leaves back so that it's not. So the question was back to pineapples. After you let it callus a little bit and then you put it in, do you need to do anything else? And I don't think you do. Yeah. Pardon?
I take the bottom leaves off and leave